Good afternoon. I would like to welcome all the participants on our first webinar. It will be a pleasure having you over and have the opportunity to explain the procedure of becoming Portuguese for all the Portuguese descendants. But first of all, I'm going to do a small presentation of myself as well of our office. My name is Judith Teodoro. I am a Portuguese attorney since 1992, and since 1994 I belong to the Bar Commission of the Law Society of the Portuguese Lawyers. Um, I've been as well, our office, an active member of the medias in our diaspora, Canada, United States, as well Bermuda, with podcasts on TV, radio every week, and also with newspaper articles. My colleague, Fernando Cabral, is an attorney as well since I am 1992 and a member of the Bar Association 1994. Filipa Cabral, who is the niece of Fernando, that part I was supposed not to say, but that's okay. And Catarina, they are trainee lawyers, and they promise a lot to the law and to the practice of the law. And then we have other beautiful ladies working in the office. Raquel Eleutério, she is an attorney. I believe Raquel, is she there or she ran?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You didn't give up, Raquel. I'm glad. And we have Beatriz in our system. We have what it's called solicitador, que é it's a person who is a kind of a small lawyer who can do small claims and can do basically the preparation for registrations. And she is a very big help in the office. Beatriz, don't be shy. Beatriz.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, she showed up. I'm so glad she did. So, the subject of our webinar, the first one that our office is in charge, the main subject is how to become Portuguese. The reason that we decided to do the webinar, it's because we felt that the media, the traditional media that we every week uh, do our programs, maybe you didn't reach out those media. I'm talking radio and TV as well, and newspapers. That's why we decided to use this platform to reach more applicants or intentions to become Portuguese. And the table of contents of our first webinar will be why applying for Portuguese citizenship. I believe attorney Fernando will tell you the reasons for sure, and how to get the Portuguese citizenship. The trainee lawyers, Catarina and Filipa, as well Beatriz, and the oldest, but not the oldest, Raquel Eleutério, will explain. And at the end, I will come back to you and let you know about the procedure. After our explanation, we will be open to your questions. Once again, welcome to our first webinar, and attorney Fernando will speak now.
Hi everyone. My presentation refers to the benefits and of becoming a Portuguese citizen, and that reflects on the rights and also the duties from that derive from being a Portuguese citizen. Portugal has a lot of benefits. On top of having a great weather, the food is great, people is nice and welcoming, and it's a very secure place, a very good place to live. But we have to understand what it means to be Portuguese and what are the rights and duties of the Portuguese citizen. Uh, Portugal is basically a democratic state based on the principle of the rule of law. But it is also a social state under the rule of law in which citizens benefit from social rights that it is up to the state to guarantee, some of which tends to be free, and it is very important, free of charge, namely for education, healthcare, and social security. The rights of the Portuguese citizenship may be outlined basically in three areas: the civil rights, the political rights, and the social and economic rights, which are developed not only in the Constitution, but also in a series of legislation. And it relates to economic and social well-being that the state has to guarantee to its citizens. These rights are accompanied by duties of citizenship, basically compliance with the law, respect of the rights of others, to share the standard of living that prevails in the society. These rights may be, in my presentation, will be referred to as fundamental rights, rights that are derived from integration into the European Union, and then we will have the general duties and other duties. Let's begin. In terms of fundamental rights, first of all, the rights to personal liberty, to freedom and security, physical and moral integrity, and protection against arbitrary arrests. Then we have a right which is common to democratic states, that is the freedom of expression and the press, the right to freely express opinions and ideas, and to inform and to be informed through the media. Also the right to property and freedom of enterprise. Then we will have, I would call, two or three, let's begin with two rights that are very interesting for people becoming a Portuguese citizen, which is the right to healthcare and the right to education. The right to healthcare is to have the state guarantees and grants access to adequate quality healthcare, and it tends to be free of charge. This is very interesting in becoming Portuguese. Also, in terms of education, the state provides for basic, secondary, and higher education on equal terms, and the access is at a very reduced cost. I mean, the tuitions are very low, and it's almost really ridiculous. It's very interesting, and we have very good universities in Portugal. One other right that it is a social right, is the right to social security, to have protection in illness, disabilities, old age, unemployment, and so forth. It's also, it may be a burden to the state, and that's why we pay so much taxes. But it's a very important right for people living in Portugal. The right to work is to carry out a paid professional activity with fair and safe conditions. The law provides for that, and it's very strict, and the workers in Portugal have a wide range of rights that also may be interesting for people working in Portugal. The right to housing is a right for decent housing with access to adequate conditions. Sometimes the state provides for housing almost free of cost. It depends on the income of people, but it can happen. Also, the right to equality and non-discrimination. Everybody should be treated with equality and respect without any form of discrimination. This is also embedded in the Constitution, and it's a guarantee, a fundamental guarantee. And then we will have the right for political participation, to run for office, to vote, and so forth, and to participate in whatever form you may understand you want to participate in public life. Then we will have the right to personal identity, the recognized name and nationality and identity. In here we have it would be in here that we might refer to the rights to in Portugal for the marriage of people with the same sex, and the change of sex and gender, and option to have that change in transgender people. It is also protected by law. Then we would have the right to privacy. The right to one's own, one owns private and family life should be protected. And finally, the right to culture, the right to enjoy and participate in cultural life. Cultural life in Portugal, um, it's not so well developed as it should be, but in any case, you can have access to culture also with a very free, very low charge. And then we would refer to the rights that are derived from Portugal's integration into the European Union. These are very interesting rights. When you become a Portuguese citizen, you become also a European citizen. And the first one that I would emphasize is the right to free movement and residence in the European Union. We can freely travel, live abroad in any European country, work, study, invest in equal terms as the people in those countries, without the need for visa or residence permits. So this is also very important, because also in Europe, other countries of Europe, we have very good universities, and they don't have, also the tuitions are not so high as in other countries, and so it may be also a good, an interesting benefit. Then we have the right to non-discrimination based on the nationality. The fact that I'm a Portuguese working in France or Germany, I should be treated equally as the French or German. And finally, I would emphasize also the right to diplomatic protection in third countries. When Portugal doesn't have a representation in a certain country and you need assistance, you can go to another European Union country embassy or consulate, and they should give you the assistance you need. As I mentioned, these rights also comes with duties that I would call general duties and other duties. The first one is obvious: compliance with the law. Everyone should obey the laws and regulations of the country. Then we would have the respect for the rights of others. Seems obvious, but it is also under the law, it is legislated. The exercise of your right should stop when it violates the rights of others. So you should respect the rights, freedoms, and guarantees of other people. The one that no one likes is paying taxes, but when we live in Portugal, we all pay taxes, and it's not so low. We pay a lot, but we have benefits from that. But in any case, it's a basic duty to pay taxes. In terms of defense of the homeland, we should participate in case of need. Now, we don't have in Portugal the mandatory military service, which means that a young man or a young lady or young man goes to one day in a year, it goes to the military, presents himself, and that's it, basically. And we don't foresee having a mandatory military service in the near future. So this is not a problem. Also, to cooperate with the authorities when they perform their duties, provided they don't violate your own rights and liberties, because they are protected by the Constitution and by the law. Other duties, it is a duty, it's also a right, it is the duty to vote. The participation in public life may be expressed with you becoming running for office, but also voting. Voting is considered a duty in Portugal. There are there are no consequences for not voting, but it is considered a duty in Portugal. The duty to protect the heritage of the country. It's the duty for everyone to protect the country's public and cultural heritage, and also the duty to preserve the environment and contribute to the preservation of the environment and the nature. This is also a duty provided for in the law. Finally, the duty to educate and protect the youngest and most vulnerable. These are basically the rights and duties from Portuguese citizenship. This is the basic framework. Now, when you become a Portuguese citizen, you also become a European citizen. And being a European citizen gives you access, as I mentioned before, to certain benefits. And the countries from the European Union have tried to, in several treaties, to establish and to give benefits and rights to the citizens, for the European citizen to have more connection and understanding of becoming and being a European Union citizen, to integrate the citizens with the European Union. As I said, the first that I would emphasize, I referred to already, it's the freedom of movement and residence. This also refers to capital, to merchandise, to goods, to work, to commerce, industry, whatever, without any need to permits or visas. So free movement within the European Union countries. Also, the political participation, you have the right to vote and run for office in European elections. And as I said, also the consular protection, that is what I mentioned before. You have the right to ask for assistance from another country from the European Union when you are in the place that you need that assistance, and Portugal doesn't have representation in that country. Also, the access to justice. This is important because European Union institutions have their own courts that are higher courts, and where you can apply for some remedy in European courts also. I already mentioned the non-discrimination is the right to be protected against discrimination based on the nationality. Other rights from European citizens refer to a wide range of subjects, such as defense as a consumer, access, transparency, and access to documents from the European institutions, the right to communicate in your own language with the European Union institution, the right to present a European citizen initiative, to have a law approved in the European Parliament, to make petitions to the European Parliament, to lodge a complaint with the European Commission with regard to your own government that doesn't comply with European regulations, and also the right to good governance or good administration. These are rights that are also provided for in European regulation. And the Portuguese citizen would also benefit from these rights from European citizen. Finally, I would refer to, for you to understand better, there's a difference between a residence visa and the nationality. The main difference is it lies in the degree of connection with the countries and the rights that are granted in one situation and the other. Basically, the residence visa allows you to legally enter and stay in Portugal, usually for a limited period and with the need for renewal. Portuguese citizenship, on the other hand, confers you a permanent link and full rights as a citizen, such as I mentioned, the free movement and residence throughout the European Union, as well as other political and social rights. Basically, the residence visa will allow you, as I mentioned, to entry and stay in Portugal for specific purposes, but the Portuguese citizenship grants you nationality with all the rights and duties of a citizen. The residence visa is generally temporary with renewal terms and conditions, and the nationality is permanent and for life. With regard to rights, as I mentioned, the residence visa will grant you certain rights related to the fact that you work or study in Portugal, but not necessarily all the rights of a citizen. On the other hand, the rights of a citizen is, as I mentioned before, you will have full access to public services and benefits, individual, social, and political rights, and other benefits from the Portuguese and the European citizenship. In terms of changing nationality, the residence visa, you will keep always your own nationality. But if you opt for Portuguese nationality, you will have to decide if you waive your own nationality and when you acquire the Portuguese nationality. So it's basically, you don't need to waive your own nationality, and you can become a dual citizen, dual nationality, with double nationality. So, as you see, Portugal has come a long way. Nowadays, it is a country which is respected worldwide. The Portuguese passports are the passport that everybody wants because Portugal has a great relationship with all countries around the world. So the Portuguese passport is accepted everywhere. So it's a good option, as you see, to opt to acquire the Portuguese citizenship. Thank you.
We will start now to talk about the 4 ways to apply the Portuguese citizenship. So, one of the ways of applying Portuguese nationality is through descendants. For example, when you have Portuguese parents, grandparents, or even great grandparents, as was recently proposed by the Portuguese government. So if you have Portuguese parents, you will need identification documents, which is driving license and passport, a power of attorney with specific powers to grant the nationality, a birth certificate duly legalized by an apostille or stamped by the Portuguese consulates, duly translated and certified. The Portuguese birth certificate of the Portuguese mother or father, which can be obtained online or at the registry office of the municipality where the father or mother was born. You can also obtain Portuguese citizenship if your grandparent is Portuguese, and for this you will need the birth certificate of the father or mother who is the child of the Portuguese grandmother or grandfather, legalized again by an apostille or visa from Portuguese consulates, duly translated and certified. The birth certificate of the Portuguese grandmother or grandfather,
the criminal records issued by foreign countries of birth and nationality and where you lived from the age of 16. And it has to be again certified and translated into Portuguese. Recently, the Portuguese government proposed the acquisition of Portuguese citizenship for Portuguese great-grandchildren, requiring for this the birth certificates of the Portuguese grandparents and great-grandparents and a clean criminal records. The birth certificates of the great-grandparents can be obtained online on a platform provided by the Portuguese government up to the year 19010, or they will be available in the archive of the municipality of the place of birth. So when you have, you can do this request in person, but the law also allows to do it online. For this, you will need a lawyer or a solicitor to submit this request at a platform, and they have access to the development of this request.
Hi everyone, I'm going to focus right now on achieving the Portuguese nationality by marriage or common law marriage, like we said in Portugal, união de facto. And for that, you need to be married or living in common law marriage with a Portuguese citizen for more than 3 years. The documents that are required for marriage is a marriage certificate with an apostille. For common law marriage, 2 certificates. One by court recognizing that you have been living for more than 3 years under similar conditions to married people, and another one less than 3 months old in which the citizen confirms that they are still living together. Besides these specific documents, for both of them, you need the applicant's birth certificate with an apostille, proof of nationality, criminal records, and these documents proving your connection to the Portuguese community, such as a certificate from your employers or social security. Besides that, that connection can be automatic by these 5 ways. So, for example, when you are married or living on a common law marriage for at least 6 years. And for less, if you hold any public position or have done non-compulsory military service in another country, you need to provide proof. And for less, I would like to inform you that in Massachusetts does not exist common law marriage, but in Rhode Island does, but it's only recognized after 7 years.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to be talking about applying for Portuguese citizenship, having lived in Portugal for 5 years or more. So in this case, there are a number of conditions and requirements that you will have to meet. So let's break it down. The conditions are being over 18 or being emancipated according to the Portuguese law, legally residing in Portugal for 5 years or more, and having a sufficient knowledge of the Portuguese language. Regarding the documents required, those are your birth certificates. If foreign, it must be signed and translated to Portuguese with certificate of translation. You will also need to file an application to the Minister of Justice in Portuguese language, giving your full name, date of birth, sex, marital status, place of birth, citizenship, parents' names, occupation, address, and countries where you lived after the age of 16. If you have a power of attorney or are incapacitated, you must have the full name and address of your legal representatives. You must also have the number, date, and entity that issued your residence permits, passports, or equivalent form of ID in this application. This application must be signed in the presence of one of the registry officials when you hand in the application in person, or in front of someone who has sufficient powers to acknowledge the signature. You can also send it to post by one of the citizenship counters or to the central registry office. A third document that you will need is a document proving that you have sufficient knowledge of the Portuguese language. This could be a certificate of qualification from a Portuguese school, public or private. Could be a certificate of qualification from a certificate of passing a Portuguese language exam, or a certificate of Portuguese as a foreign language that you have. The fourth and final document that you will need is your criminal records that needs to be issued by the country of your citizenship and where you have lived from the age of 16. This must be translated into Portuguese language with a certificate of translation. And that's all.
Hello, everyone. So another form of acquisition of Portuguese nationality is through descendants of Sephardic Jews. It's not very common, but the Portuguese Sephardic Jews are the descendants of Jewish communities that lived in Portugal and Spain until their expulsion in the 15th century. Currently, Portuguese law allows them, their descendants, to apply for Portuguese nationality provided they meet certain legal requirements. One of them, to be 18 years old or older, be a descendant of Portuguese Sephardic Jews, belong to a Sephardic community of Portuguese origin, and have legal residence in Portugal for at least 3 years. The documents required, like other types of acquisition of citizenship, the legalized birth certificate with the translation and the apostille, criminal record from countries of residence since the age of 16 years old, and a certificate from a Jewish Portuguese community recognized in Portugal, attesting to the Portuguese Sephardic tradition, a genealogical proof of descendants, and an objective connection to Portugal. It can be by the surname, language, and genealogy. And the proof of effective connection to Portugal, it can be done in 4 ways: inherited property in Portugal, shares in Portugal in Portuguese companies, frequent trips to Portugal, back and forth, and a detailed family description explaining how they descend of the Sephardic Jews. Lately, the latest news from the Portuguese government may affect this type of citizenship application. They are looking to end this kind. For the CPLP, it's the Community of Portuguese Language Speakers, such as Angola, Brazil, Cape Verde, and the others. The requirements are less rigorous than for the other countries. But they have also requirements to be 18 years of age or older, a minimum legal residence of 5 years, but the government are proposing to change to 7 years, and no conviction for a crime with a sentence of more than 3 years of prison. The documents required as well are the birth certificate, legalized and apostilled, valid identification document, a passport, driver's license, and a valid residence permit issued by, used to be CEF, now it's IMA, and the criminal record certificate from the country of origin and from Portugal. In Portugal, they can request in the courthouse or at the civil store. And the proof of legal residence in Portugal for the last 5 years.
dear participants, you might be asking, how can I do it if I just decided to be Portuguese after this explanation from my colleagues? The procedure is, first of all, if you don't come to Portugal, to do it yourself on the department competent. You can give a power of attorney to a lawyer with specific powers for this proposal, which is to obtain the Portuguese citizenship. And also, you have the right to choose the name that you want to be known in Portugal. I had a case that the applicant wanted to have the same name of his grandfather. So instead of Frank, he chose Francisco. And the first thing is to have the power of attorney for a lawyer. I know you might have problems with the power of attorney. It must be written down that the power of attorney will end with the procedure of the citizenship to obtain that. The second phase is to have all the paperwork that my colleague said, and then we have to file up a form and submit the application. This online platform, it's only allowed for lawyers to work with, but after the submission of the application, we can have a code and have access to the process, what is being doing, what has been done. And now in Portugal, this is distributed to two big conservatórias, civil registration service. The central, it's in Lisbon, and as well the second city in mainland called Porto. After this explanation, we are open to your questions. And of course, our office will also will be able to assist you if you want to. That's why we have our contacts, email. And I have a question here that someone is asking if this table contents will be available. Yes, this webinar is being recorded, and we will provide also all the slides and all our preparation. You can reach us out from a local number. It's 351-296-472-435 or international 401-354-2521. All the explanation will be also in our website, as well our newspapers articles that we do weekly. And we are open to you, and I'm glad that you join us. Okay, so we are open to any questions. And meantime, I have here two or three. Okay. Can I apply for citizenship while my father's citizenship is in process? My grandfather's father is Portuguese. My recommendation is to wait until your father's process is finalized, so you become automatically Portuguese by being a daughter of a Portuguese father. Through your grandfather, it will be mandatory other process, such as you have to speak a little bit Portuguese. So my advice is, let's wait for your father's process to be concluded. Also, a great-grandfather, yes. The alteration of the Portuguese government that is proposed is to have the possibility for the third generation can become Portuguese. Okay, thank you for, can we go through you to apply? Yes, you can come to us and to apply. If yes, how do we start the process? Also, if you are married for more than 10 years to a Portuguese, does that prove connection? Yes. as a spouse, you can be Portuguese. The minimum is 3 years. If I am asking, can a non-Portuguese citizen with no Portuguese family become a citizen? Yes, you have to live in Portugal. At the minimum is 3 years, but there are some 5 years, but there are some alterations. It will come for 7 years, but you must be in Portugal with a legal visa. My grandparents were both Portuguese, but my mother is deceased. How can I find out if she had Portuguese citizenship and can I still apply for myself? Yes, we can, through your mother's name, we can do some searches to see if she's Portuguese. If she's not, yes, you can apply yourself as a granddaughter of Portuguese citizenship. Approximately how much does it cost to complete the application, including legal fees? It will depend. It will depend the situation that we are talking. We have to see all the birth certificates, if the names are the same, because sometimes we have difference. But we are talking roughly 1,015 to 1,500. Did you say that if your grandfather is Portuguese, you have to speak Portuguese to get that? Was not included in the paperwork required on the previous slide. Okay, what in our table contents as well in our slide was the main requirements, not all the specifications. Yes, it is required, and we have a Portuguese school around all our diaspora, and for the applicant to learn the minimum of our language. And believe me, it's really interesting to learn Portuguese. There are quite similar words to English. Do you, if there is a plan, okay, I have to go. Okay, like my grandparents were both poor, but okay. Okay, how much? I answered already. Is there a plan by the government to increase the residency requirement to 10 years from for non with a resident certificate, English citizenship, citizens? No, there's not a plan. What we do have available are certain visas, D1, D7, or even for retirement, for study proposal, for medical proposals. So we have to see each cases. We do have a platform of visa according to the wishes of the applicants. Do you need to certify translation knowing that is under European law and French? Yes, we do have. We do have. So do you need to, okay, and also can citizens to step children through marriage? For that, for step children, your spouse must be Portuguese, and so he can apply to citizenship. If you've been married for 32 years to a Portuguese national, do you still need to go through the process of birth certificate? Yes. Is it not automatic? No, no, no. One thing is what the law says. The other thing is the procedure. Everybody has to go to this procedure. This was really helpful. I must drop off now, but muito obrigada. Whoever is Jean, you write very good Portuguese. Also, how long does it usually take to approve someone who has a grandparent who's Portuguese? And once obtained, can that person's children then apply? Yes. Normally it takes 1 to 3 years and sometimes less. It will depend. And thank you very much. Very informative. If you want property, is there any perks for homeowners, for citizen? No, no. Portugal treats equally nationals and non-nationals. Sorry, my question, but was about a British citizen living in Portugal on a 5-year temporary resident permit. I had heard that the government was planning to make the length of resident. Yes. Is it true? If so, apply now for yes. The law, the government wants to extend the length of residence, yes. But if the person applies now, will be applicable the law that is now in Portugal, because the other one was not approved yet. If you have grandparents, great grandparents who are Portuguese, do need to live there to obtain or can. Yes, you can obtain living overseas, getting all the paperworks. You can obtain living overseas. You don't have to come and live in Portugal because you have a link to the country, which is the blood of your deceased family. Obrigada. You're
We
welcome.
also have questions on the Q&A box that are asking if one has been married to a Portuguese national for 42 years and lives in Bermuda, do they still need to go through the process of marriage certificate, apostille, volunteer in the Portuguese community, police record, etc.? Is this not automatic after many years of marriage? My grandfather came from Portugal, but died before I was born. Thought it would be easier going through my husband's. I was told it would take 3 to 4 years to receive my Portuguese passport once I go through the process. Thanks.
You have to go through the process, and then I mentioned before, the minimum can come from months to 3 years. That's our experience. I never heard 4 years. And there is a question of Jay Suarez asking if they already changed the rule that allows a great-great-grandchild to apply. Not yet, but hopefully during July, this will become effective.
And we have another question. What are the requirements if you want to retire in the Azores?
If you want to retire in Azores, it's the same thing that if you wanted to retire in the other country, the law on the rest of the country, the law is equal for all Portugal. There is a visa for retirement people, and it's only applying for the visa for retirement. Okay, if the child of the Portuguese parents is the child even no. Even the even the child, the parents are Portuguese, you have to go through the process to become Portuguese too. What I can say, it's automatically right, but it's not an automatically process.
Basically, yes, a child of two Portuguese parents living abroad, he has the right to Portuguese citizenship, but it needs to be the birth certificate or the birth should be registered in Portugal, and it should be shown that the parents are Portuguese. So there is a process, but it's very easy to go through. So basically, it's to have birth certificates from the parents and from the child.
That makes sense. Thank you. Okay, Christina. Again, it's a right when our parents are Portuguese. It's a constitutional right, but you have to go through the process.
We have another question on anonymous. What is the process to obtain a resident visa to live in the Azores? Spouse is Portuguese.
If the spouse is Portuguese, as you're saying, the spouse is Portuguese, not the other member of the couple. So there are two ways here. Or you apply for a resident visa for retirement, or you apply for Portuguese citizenship as a spouse of a Portuguese citizen. When is the change to 10 years resident expected? It will be on the same time that will allow that the third generation becomes Portuguese, I believe during this month or in September, because normally in August, the Parliament of Portugal is closed for holidays. And the debate of the nationality law belongs to the parliament. The government will propose the alteration, but only become effective in the parliament. How long does it take to obtain citizenship when applying to having a Portuguese grade? It's the same time. It's a month to 3 years from our experience.
You need to bear in mind that for this situation, sometimes we need to make some discoveries because we may be speaking about a time where there was no civil register office. And so we need to go through the parochial from the churches, parochial to parish registers. It may take, it may take some time to find out, and sometimes it's very well, it's a lot of work going through all the registers from parishes and so. But basically, once you have that document, as Judith was saying, it's up to the civil register office in charge, and they are currently understaffed, and that's why it's taking so long. But
Similar question.
one part of the length in this process has to do with finding and making the discoveries and finding the register in very old parish registers. So we need to have specific information to cut that time and to make it more expedite.
Yes, David, that's the right thing to do about your question that you made. Now, to all the participants, is there any word in Portuguese that you know you would like to share? Like boa tarde? No. Isto é muito importante. Agradeço. Oh, everybody is writing in Portuguese. Oh my God. Muito obrigada. This is just the first of many webinars that our team will prepare. Oh, from what I'm seeing, so you will not have problem to apply for Portuguese citizenship. You're familiar with the language. But I promised to behave myself, but here I am again doing something that I shouldn't. Sorry.
We have another Q&A from Veronica. She's asking, how can you get to a parish register via the internet?
A parish?
Freguesia.
Register via the
Yes.
internet. There is no,
Oh,
you have to understand the Paris registers, they are not digitalized, so you cannot, they need to go through one by one, and it takes time. You can ask that to the public library and archives from Ponta Delgada or Angra do Heroísmo if you are in Azores, or from public archives and libraries in Portugal, particularly Torre do Tombo for the whole mainland.
we have some that are accessible through website from government websites for the birth until 1910 also. But it's like Fernando said, you would have to go through everyone's registration.
Okay. Is there any other questions? I believe we will finalize our webinar. I wish to everybody a great summer and hope to see you in Portugal as a national.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.